Hello, my Teaserking family. Now I have my mic and I don't have my video. What the fuck? Can anybody see me? Well, let's look at my YouTube. I've never lost my camera before, only my video. Well, I guess my video is working. I can see it. All right, my video is working, but I can't see myself. I don't know if that's a problem or not. And I don't know why I can't see myself, but it does look like I can see. What the fuck's going on? All right. All right. Well, I guess you can see me. This is going to be weird because I'm used to seeing myself. I'm not sure why I'm not. I tried deleting. I turned off my computer, turned it back on, but I don't know why I'm not seeing it. But apparently it's working. Hey, Greg and John. Can you see me? I can't see myself, but on my video. Hey, Greg and John. Can you see me? I can't see. So on my screen's black, but I can see my video, my audio is working. Okay, I just can't see myself for some reason. I don't know. This computer gets really strange sometimes. Anyway, so I will just assume you can see me. Camera and mic in use. Chrome is currently using your camera and microphone. Okay, I don't understand it, but anyway, hello. I'm just used to seeing myself, but that's okay. Now I'm going to show you some Egon, so I hope it comes across. Hang in there for a minute, Greg and John, just so you can respond to this. So I'm going to play. I'm going to play some, let's see. I'm going to play some Egon.
This is my daughter.
Just tell me if you can see this.
Why we have to.
The dollar will decline.
Okay, can you see this?
Much better to hold your reserves, your central bank reserves in gold. I think that will happen over a number of years.
Okay. This is really weird. I have a black screen for some reason. Normally I lose the audio. This is the first time I've ever lost the video. It worked fine last night, so I don't know what's happening. Why the light's on for the video. All right, let's talk something. All right, so I watched some Egon today. You know, normal Egon, you know, everything's going to crash. You hold gold because preserving wealth and everything. I'll show you a few Egons just to do it. So let's talk. Let's talk NCAA basketball. Why we are here. This is so weird. So it's not even like my video isn't working. It just isn't showing. This is just weird. Well, I've never had this. Normally, like the audio goes out, right? So now the video is out. And yeah, I just don't understand. Let me turn off my phone and restart it, see if that does anything. Shouldn't. I totally turned my computer off and came back on, and I'm still getting this black. So now I've tried turning my phone off, and then we will see what it's doing with, because if I show this, I got to make sure I've got it in the right spot, right? Yeah, but I've always been on a laptop. It's nothing new. Nothing has changed, right? This is the same thing I did last night. I went in and my white light's on that I'm in my video, and I can't understand what the hell's going on because I'm just seeing a black screen. Anyway, so let me get my computer, my phone on. I mean, I'm wondering what I would have hit that would create this. I'll have to play around with it when we're done. Anyway, so let's get the phone up. Okay, it's up and loading. So gold was up a little today. I don't know how it ended. That's what we're going to check. What are the rules, Greg John? They still didn't get rid of the Philly push. All right, so let's see the gold price. $21.72 up 7 roughly. And then silver down 24.66. So as Egon says, he doesn't look at the price because he knows what's going to happen. Can I check what on my phone? My class? Yeah, I did. And I saw it was on and I saw I had pictures. So on the phone, I'm fine, but not on my laptop, which makes 0 sense. Oh, wait, what's this? This is third-party cookies blocked. This page is accessing your camera and your microphone. So my camera's obviously working. Why can't I see myself is the question. But yeah, on my phone I can see it. What am I checking on my phone, Greg or John? Like I said, I can see class. Oh, the NFL rules? I could, but you brought it up. So what are they? So here I am on my phone. So here I am on my phone. So that's working. I am on my phone. So the live on the phone's working. I can see myself, but I can't see it on the laptop. So I'm wondering if it's overriding or something. Link with TV or the Roku, no. Settings. I don't know. It's strange. Yeah, I can see them, but I'm not going to go through and read them. What if you brought it up? Then what's the point? what new rules changed. I'm not really worried about that right now. You seem to come in with these strange things off topic that I don't really care what the new NFL rules are right now. But if you have them, then what are they? And if you don't want to go through them, then why did you bring it up? So you brought it up as if these rules changed. And so I asked what. So some tackle they change. Yeah, the hip toss. Okay, I knew that. So what are the big rules that changed? Anything? Okay, so why do I care about that? All right, so forget it, Greg and John. We're not there. So, like I said, gold is 2172, which is good, but we're looking for 20,000. Silver 24. So we know these are jokes, and that's why I got some Egon to tell you. So let's talk a little NCAA tournament. So if we take a look at Thursday's game, so we take a look at yesterday's games. So Marquette wins 81-77. Close win against Colorado. I throw the rankings out. Are they really two? Is Colorado 10? They should have won by 20. Purdue kills Utah State. Again, it's misleading because Purdue beats a bad Utah State team. Are they really that good, or is Utah State that bad? Duke beats James Madison 93-55. Now, I know James Madison's pretty good, so all of a sudden Duke looks good. Clemson beats Baylor 72-64. How good was Baylor? How good's Clemson? Still unknown. Alabama beats the Grand Canyon 72-61. Again, they don't beat anybody really that good in the Grand Canyon. We don't know. UConn 75, Northwestern 58. Again, Utah looks really good. Northwestern, I don't know, Big Ten, I didn't pay much attention to. Houston beats A&M 100-95. Houston's a good team, apparently no defense. And then San Diego State beats Yale 85-57. Again, what's Yale doing in the tournament? And apparently, they did that. So what do we have coming up is not until Thursday. And we start with, we don't have lines, or at least not on Yahoo. I can check the other. So we got Arizona and Clemson. This is 7 o'clock. So these are 7 o'clock and then later. Clemson, Arizona. So Arizona's, how good's Clemson? They just beat Baylor. So probably hang in there. UConn, San Diego State. UConn will probably kill them. North Carolina, Alabama. How good is Alabama? And then Iowa State, Illinois. This should be a tight game. The Sunday games, or the Friday games, North Carolina State, Marquette. I would think Marquette would beat them. Although I don't love Marquette's coach. Purdue Gonzaga. Is Purdue that good? This is what we don't know. Duke and Houston. This should be a great game. I would take the dog in this one, the way Duke handled yesterday. And then Tennessee, Creighton. Again, we don't know enough information. So this goes into trust. Where did they do? Who do we trust? So let's go back to Thursday's game. So Thursday, Clemson, Arizona. Do we trust either team to bet on them? Well, Clemson beat a good Baylor team. Arizona beat somebody. I don't remember. Do we now trust them? I don't know. That's a hard call. San Diego State, UConn. Do we trust UConn? Do we trust San Diego State? I think I trust UConn more. But again, everybody says how good they are. Alabama, North Carolina. God, I wish I knew what is causing the video. Interesting. I wonder what is causing this black screen. Anyway, so do we seem to trust UConn. You think Duke is a good bet? Well, do you have a spread? I don't have spreads yet. Well, let me get out of Yahoo and let me go to scores and odds. And let's see if we've got any lines. Okay, we do have lines. All right, let's go through this with lines.
Tom Pelissaro, we're excited to have Drew Lock, and he knows what his role is going to be. He's going to get a lot of reps this spring. He needs to learn our system. But again, excited to get Dan.
All right, so we start off with Arizona 6.5 over Clemson. It seems like Clemson might be a good play here. Now, I don't know enough about over-unders to say is 152 a good number. I'd have to do more work on are they over or under teams. The question is the trust. How comfortable and how much do we trust Clemson and Arizona? They're 6.5 point favorites. Is Arizona going to win by 20? Is Clemson capable of winning the game? This is what we need to see. We're not sure. Connecticut and San Diego State. Connecticut 10.5, 135.5 against San Diego State. It's a big number. I think we can trust Connecticut, but I'm not sure. I haven't seen them. This is the problem when you don't really watch college basketball. And I saw a little of the tournament, not a lot. Mostly the North Carolina beating. Now, that was an easy one because the game was in North Carolina and Michigan State really sucked. Wasn't a top team, and they were only getting 3.5. The point spread made that a lock. So probably Connecticut, 10.5. I don't think matters in basketball. North Carolina 3.5 over Alabama. 173.5. That who doesn't play defense here? So, that's like a 90-point game. Are we really going to get that? We'll have to see. Again, I think North Carolina laying 3.5 should handle Alabama. Nick Saban's gone, so I don't think Alabama. I don't take him as a dog in basketball, just football. And Iowa State 1.5 over Illinois. 145.5. Now, if this was a football game, this would be an easy under. I'd go under 145 if it was football. Here, I think Iowa State. This is like a toss-up, but I would, since Illinois is a 10 seed, I think I'd take Iowa State laying the 1.5. But again, the question is how comfortable are we with these? See, it becomes a trust and a comfort issue. Do we trust them? Are we comfortable playing these teams and everything? All right. Marquette 6.5 to North Carolina State. I wasn't impressed with Marquette. NC State beat Oakland, so they're a good team. I kind of think since Marquette's a 6.5, I think North Carolina State getting 6.5 might be good. I don't know. I see this game as more of a toss-up. Let's see. Purdue 5.5 over Gonzaga. 154. I would think this is an over game. Gonzaga. I'd have to check. Do they score a lot? But Purdue, that one big guy, had a big game. But is he going to have a big game here? Is he that good, or he just played a team with no big guys? And when you win by 50 points, 40 points, it's very misleading. The team is just a good matchup. Are you going to have the same matchup with Gonzaga? And that's where it comes into where we look at football on the matchups. So Purdue 5.5. I don't know. I'm leaning towards over, but I don't really trust Purdue. They always choke in this thing. Although, I see this. They're not 3 seed. They don't show the seeds on here. They just show Purdue's the number 3 team and Gonzaga's the number 18 team. I'm thinking, how can they be an 18 seed? Houston and Duke. Duke 4.5, 133. So you like Duke as the dog. Probably a pretty good dog. Again, I thought Houston was a very good team. Duke, I wasn't sure of. It's not like they won the ACC and they don't have the coach there. So I don't know. Maybe the 133, maybe it's an under. Again, with Coach K, it's an under because he plays that tough defense. So I don't know. And then Tennessee, 2.5, 143 against Creighton. Do you trust Tennessee to win the game? It's as simple as that. Who's the better team? Tennessee looked very good beating Texas. I would say I say them and Iowa State and these low spread games are probably good. But at this point, I would need to do more homework. Those are your spreads for Thursday and Friday.
We often call that the confetti test. Well, here's how it works.
So we will have to see. But those are the games. Do we know who number 1 is? Is number 1 Connecticut? Is number 2 Houston? Duke's up there. Is Purdue number 3?
Obviously.
If we go back, if we look back, is how good's Arizona? So we see Connecticut's 1. How good's North Carolina? And that's it. And you got so it seems like North Carolina and Connecticut, and then Houston, Duke on the other side. So now they have 3 challenges. Now you're changing subjects. If you win the 2 in NFL, they shouldn't have instant replay. My problem with instant replay is they still don't get it right, and they waste a lot of time. And I don't think there's a benefit in it. Look at that 2-point play with the Lions. I saw something about the ref being, fixing the game. He didn't fix the game. And it was like number 70. And they said, look, number 70 reported to the ref. You don't know he reported. You don't know what was said because 68 was the one who actually reported or was the one they wanted to report, I think. Anyway, it's not clear because he could go to the ref and not report. That was the whole point. So it's totally misleading that the ref fixed the game for Dallas. Detroit screwed themselves if it's right that number 70 went to whoever caught the pass didn't tell the ref, or the ref translated it into number 70 is eligible, and so they didn't cover number 68 because he wasn't eligible. So we're not sure, but I didn't like that video at all. But in instant replay, I don't get it. I'm watching all these 1970 games, the catch, 1981. And the refs are fine. There was one play in the Steeler game when a guy taps his toes in the championship game with Houston. That might have been a touchdown, but it really wouldn't have mattered. Pittsburgh would have then come down and scored a touchdown. So they got a field goal instead. But the point is that they really didn't. If they missed the play, they missed the play, but they're going to miss the play for both sides. I don't like the challenge, especially if it's a pass interference. That's a judgment call. You can't challenge a judgment call. And then, the other things I'm not really sure of. So, what is this? Third-party cookies. So that's really the problem. You really look at, do they need the refs? if you have the ref, let the ref call the game. And he's going to make mistakes. The quarterback throws interceptions. Should you take the ball back and give it back to the quarterback because he threw an interception? Those are your problems. So I'm not really sure that the answer is to change your change the to change the challenge. Sorry, I'm a little bit unorthodox with I'm seeing a black screen and not myself, but on the phone I'm seeing it. Okay, so anyway, I don't normally why. I think this is going to the phone instead. Turn on phone. I don't know. Very frustrating. All right. Anyway, let the refs call the game and whatever happens. My daughters played fast pitch softball when they were younger. The ref, the ump made the call. The ump made the call. What are you going to do? So that's where I'm trying to, do we need instant replay? I think the problem is it takes too long. It's sort of like electric cars, right? If it takes 2 hours to charge your car, do you want to use the electric car? Because the electric car is not, I can go. I went and filled up for gas today, and it took 5 minutes. I go there, the pump's open, I squeeze the gas, and within 5 minutes, I was done. So is it worth my time to charge my car, and it takes an hour, but there's 3 people ahead of me. So now I got to wait 4 hours for the charger. Because as we all go to electric cars, if that was the case, and I hope not, then more people are going to go to the charger. Now you're going to wait in line an hour to charge the vehicle. And as your battery wears down, like you do on a phone or your computer, now you're going twice as often for half the charge. So we're better off with electric cars. We're probably better off without the instant replay. Anyway, Greg and John, they say UConn is the best team. Who's they? I don't want to hear they. I want to hear who, and I want to hear why. I want to know why we can trust UConn, that you're making that statement. I don't want to hear, if you're listening to Keynesians, and they'll say, we don't want the gold standard. Well, so then you're going to think you don't want it, but you got to know the story. So just because somebody says UConn's the best team, I don't know. Did they beat anybody? A lot of people, they had San Francisco favorite over Kansas City. They had Baltimore favorite over Kansas City, and look what happened. Mahomes. So until you know enough of the players and the team and the coach, who they've beaten, did UConn pull a Michigan and play nobody? Who did they beat? So I think Purdue's probably the worst team because the Big Ten sucked this year. So they beat nobody, and then they just beat nobody in the tournament. So let's see Purdue let's see who wins the tough games, right? And then we can talk about it. All right. So here's a stoic story I got today. I'm at the club, and you know how I am, trying to tell people to buy gold and silver. So I hear somebody say, I always let the person talk and I listen to see if I should say something. I used to just go up to people and that was it. So I did some research today. So this guy's talking to the other guy. Oh, the most important thing to me is my granddaughter, and made a comment about some money or something. And you were really trying to understand them. And it was like he had money, but he had a granddaughter. And first he says, oh, I had another birthday. And then he said, well, it's better than the alternative. So I said, is it really better than the alternative? If you think about the alternative, is it really that bad? Because you don't wake, you're just sleeping. You just don't wake up. You don't have any bills. You have no more problems, right? You don't have to worry about anything. And do you really even know that you're not there anymore? I'm trying to keep my language clear here. So he said, oh, I got a granddaughter and I really love her. And I said, well, okay, I'm just throwing it out there. So then I say, well, where do you have your money? In cash? Or do you have it in gold? And, I got it in cash. I said, well, if you want to take care of your granddaughter, you got to get into gold. And I said, oh, you don't want to talk to me? I says, why don't you want to talk to me? Well, I don't know you. Well, if I'm talking about gold, wouldn't you ask I said, what you should do, I laid it out for him perfectly. I said, well, what you should do is ask, why do I know? Why would I be talking about gold? What do I know? That's what you should ask me. Why? I mean, who talks about gold? So you should ask, who am I? What's my background? You should understand me. Instead of saying, I don't know you and walk away, you shouldn't be so stupid. You should kind of go, well, I said, and I told them like that. I said, you should ask why I would say this. And my response is, because I got a master's in economics and I understand what's going on, and I understand your only way out is gold because the dollar is gone. And then I got his attention. And I'm saying to him, look, he says, well, I don't know you. And I go, I should have said, well, who advises you? Your financial planner? Do you know him? He must not be very good if he doesn't have you in gold. So I brought that up to him. And he kind of hemmed and hawed like, yeah, I guess you're right. And then he made a comment, oh, I buy my gold at Costco. And I go, you should go to 5 Mile and Haggerty, my store. It's not my store, it's the store I buy at. I go, he's cheaper. He's the cheapest in town. My guy, and he has, and you're not doing your research to run to Costco. Costco's not the best play. But I thought about comfort and trust. And I says, you don't trust me because you don't know me, because you're not comfortable with me, because we've never met before. However, have you met your financial planner? Did you trust him? Did you meet him? Who are you listening to? So if you go to a Merrill Lynch or Goldman Sachs or something and meet a financial planner, do you know them? Do you trust them because they work there? I mean, that's just stupid. You can't. Well, you work at a bank, I'll trust you. Well, as we know, that's not the good answer. So, I told him, look, you should, if somebody comes up to you like that, you should ask the questions. If you came up to me with some important comment, like, well, I can't go there, but, I don't know. I know how to build bridges. I would kind of ask the guy, really, oh, are you an engineer? I would talk to him, right? That's the whole point of this, is if somebody comes up to you, the fact you don't know them should not be a problem, because do you know Trump and Biden? Do you know them? and they're telling you this, do you know them? Do you know, you go out to eat, do you know the cook? Do you know the waitress? So the problem is, what I was trying to teach is you should know the person, and you need to you need to get comfortable with me, and then you got to see if you can trust me. So you got to listen to what I say, and then you can say, wow, this guy knows, or this guy doesn't. Now, the same thing happened at Chinese this Saturday night. I'm talking with some guy sitting there waiting for his order. It's a carry out only, and I'm waiting for mine. We both got General Chow, and we start talking, and he listened. He asked for the Teaserking card. I always throw in, I know Bobby. He was an older guy. He actually knew. He didn't know Bobby personally. He heard of Bobby, but the thing is, he's sitting there, and I says, "Well, do you have gold?" He listened. He didn't say, "I don't know you." He said, "Oh, really?" And I said, "Yeah, the dollar's going out. They're printing too much. Da 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 da. You need to buy gold." And and he listened, and he took my card. And that's the difference. This guy listened to me because he was like, yeah, you make sense. And the other guy in the locker room, I don't know you. Well, we both have one thing in common. We're both coming to this rec center to swim. So what's the problem here? Why are you not listening? Is this my camera? I'll play around with that later. See, my camera's like, why don't I have access? I don't want to lose it. Why do you ask that, Greg and John? I'm trying to figure out I can't see on my screen on my laptop, only on the phone. So I'm trying to look to figure. There's a camera icon and it says I don't have access to it now. So I want to click it, but I don't want to lose the class. So I will look at it at the end. Yeah, because it bothers me. I'm used to seeing myself on the screen, and now I just see a black screen. So it does change things. Anything that changes is like that. Well, my camera's not working on my laptop. I've told you that, but it does work, and you verified it, and I can see on the phone it works. So I'm trying to figure out why it works on the phone, but it doesn't work on the laptop. So is that your question? I am having difficulties on the laptop, but apparently you can still see me as far as I know. And so therefore, that's my point. Yes, the camera's not working on the laptop. I can see the light. I can see it on the phone. You can see me, but I can't see myself, which I normally can. That's my problem. And I've told you about it. Well, that's what I'm playing with. I'm looking to see, and keep in mind, I haven't changed settings. So I'm like, you see last night, right? You saw me, but I saw me too on the laptop. And then today I can't. So I'm sure it's a setting, but I don't know what it is. I don't know enough of why, but it works on the phone and I can see the light and you can see me. So why can't I see me in my studio here? What setting changed that I don't know about? But I won't look at it now. I'll wait till the class is over to look at. Anyway, so the point was the guy in the locker room should have, if I say, do you have any gold? He gets defensive and I don't know you. And then I even answered it for him, but you should ask the question, why do I say that? I'm not trying to sell you gold. I'm not selling it at these prices. I don't have a store. I'm not trying to do anything. I'm not trying to push you into buying it. Well, I kind of am, but not for my benefit, for his benefit. I said, look, you got a granddaughter, and if you're broke, she's not going to have a good life. So you've got to do that. So anyway, so that was the point with him. So I was being stoic to the point of I said exactly what he should have said. Why didn't you ask me about myself? You should have said, why are you bringing up gold? You shouldn't be afraid of me, or I don't know you, so I can't talk to you. You're a grown man. You're, 65 years old, and you don't know me, so you're not going to listen. And you don't have gold. And then he says at the end, well, yeah, I buy it at Costco. Oh, so you do have gold. So why'd you lie to me? Right. Okay. So we know where gold's at. We know it's coming soon. We saw Egon. So now let's look at Egon. There was 2 videos of Egon today.
My phone. So that's working.
See, I'm still there, right? I could see myself on the phone.
The live.
So the question is, if I can see myself it's working on the phone, why isn't it working on the laptop? Let's see if I can change. I just don't see. The live on the phone's working. I can see myself, but the live on the phone. Okay. Anyway, that's what I'm struggling with. So let's look at Egon. So there's 2 Egons. So I'm going to play the whole Egon. It's only 9 minutes. Let's look at this.
I want to give a shout out to Output Arcade, which is one of my favorite plugins. And of course, if you'd like to try.
Mr. Grice, it's good to have you. Thank you very much for your time today.
Can you see it?
Then once you said buy as much physical gold as possible, and if you think you've got enough, buy even more. Because
is that centered, Greg and John?
Bubble, as you call it, might be and everything collapse pretty soon.
Normally it's up
How's
here.
that collapse going to look like?
Well, I think it's going to be very difficult. I focus on risk and not on making maximum amount of money on investments. And I think we are probably in the riskiest period in history now. We've never had a world where every country in the world is so indebted as it is today. And on top of that, we have obviously more big countries running deficits, US, we know. And then you have the 2 wars. And there could easily be 3 wars or 4 wars. And as always, the US is involved in all the wars in countries that they have nothing to do with. They're involved in the Ukraine, they're involved in the Middle East. Sadly, these wars could easily develop into a major conflict, especially when it is really between, US and Russia, US and, well, now the Palestinians. But Palestinians is not. We have the whole Arab and Muslim world, which is a few billion, a couple of billion. So the risks are enormous. We don't know what's going to happen. 2008, the world was saved by an hour or so. The banking system was almost going under. And I don't expect the next time that they will be able to save it. They printed over 200 trillion since 2008, plus derivatives was probably over 1 quadrillion. And those derivatives will also become debt at some point because the banks have to save them. And therefore, I think the risk is very high. And that's why gold is the best insurance against these risks. So it's so simple. And if you look at all asset classes, stocks, bonds, property, they're in bubbles. And so that's why I call it the everything bubble, because there's a risk that these will all crash. And then what else is there to hold?
Okay, so as we know, we want gold because it can't be inflated. You can't have a bubble in gold because you can't inflate gold. So he's talking about bubbles. Bubbles are just like the stock market isn't, what do we call it? It's not free market. Free market is when you just, like I say, I have the Mahomes card. It's 50 count. I don't know where to put this. It's 50 count. I go to sell it. Bobby buys it. That's free market, whatever it's at. Nobody's interfering with the sell and the trade. Gold's interfered with. The stock market's interfered with. Everything's interfered with by the government. So when they say the stock market, well, what's happening is the Fed's printing money and they're putting it into Amazon. Well, that's not the real price of Amazon. And so all this money is pouring into Amazon, but the real price should be 100 and it's at 200. That's a bubble. So there's a bubble in housing. There's a bubble in stocks. And a few other, what else could there be? A bubble in Bitcoin, obviously. So what happens is that's what he's talking about. And the bubbles will burst because people will start taking their money out. But you can't have a bubble in gold and silver. Actually, you have a reverse bubble because you have the JP Morgans keeping the price down. So it's an inverse bubble in gold and silver where the price should be much higher. It's being held down. That's why I'm so positive of the gold going way up, is because it's been in the reverse bubble. So where the stock market's going to crash back to normal where it should be. So it should be at 10,000, but it's at 30,000 because they're keeping it propped up to show how good the economy's doing. And not to get out of the dollar. Oh, don't, trust us. You can trust us. We wouldn't lie to you. Madoffs. And so that's the problem. It's the trust. And then with so the housing, the stocks, everything is overvalued. That's what a bubble is when it's not the right price. With gold and silver, it's not the right price either, but it's under. So instead of just letting the free market, and probably the only thing at the right price is the baseball cards, because it's what's bidded in the auction, right? It's just some guy selling and some guy buying. And that's supposed to be the market for everything. That's what stocks should be, houses should be, bonds should be, and the gold and silver. It should be, I want to sell it. Some guy gives me 10 grand, but what you got is COMEX keeping the price low. It's an inverted bubble. So when that breaks, and that's what we're all waiting for, and the trigger is going to be BRICS saying, hey, we're coming out with a gold-backed currency and we need gold a lot higher. We'll get it to more of a free market number, hopefully. Again, the Russians, Chinese might price fix it themselves, saying we need $10,000 an ounce gold. And then it might not move from there. Will it be allowed to go free market? And that's really what we're hoping is yes, but we don't really know. People tend to want to price fix gold, because they're going to put their money on it. So they're going to want $10,000 gold or whatever. So that's what a bubble is. And Egon's saying everything's in a bubble, which he's right. And the big problem is the money printing. The money's not backed by anything, so they overprinted. He said there's $200 trillion in money, and then all these derivatives. It was some huge number I've never heard before. So there's all this money out, and that's causing big problems. It's not at market. They're all bubbles. So let's see what else.
Cash will go down every day in value. When banks are printing money, cash goes down to its intrinsic value zero. It's always happened in history, will happen this time too. It's on its way. So that's the reason why I think we're facing a very risky period.
Absolutely. We're in a high-risk world at the moment. And you already mentioned the conflict in Israel. We have Russia, we have the Arabian world controlling more than 50% of the oil production.
Yeah.
And as we all know, you mentioned it in one of your articles, a lot of this oil is going by ship through the Strait of Hormuz,
Yes.
which is controlled by the Iran. For example, let's say the conflict is going to be a bigger war.
Yeah.
What would happen with the oil price?
Well, it's interesting you ask that because, of course, oil and gold very much go hand in hand. You can see that they move together within a range. So, oil is really black gold. So oil will go up dramatically and gold will go up dramatically. And, we forgot to talk about, for example, Taiwan also. China, Taiwan is going to happen one day.
Now, the one thing about oil, it's also COMEX and it's also price fixed, just like gold. All the commodities are. So when he says that, I don't know how much I believe it because we know oil is price fixed the same as gold. So they move in a price fixed world. What will they move in a free market? Maybe the same. I don't know. This will be a curious
And
one.
again, the U.S. is involved because they'll be on the Taiwan side, of course. The oil price, I think it's, I'm a gold man, and not because I love gold, because I think it's the best way to insure your wealth or preserve your wealth. But because oil is also very good, I think, because I think it'll go up. But it's hard to store at home or in a vault, for normal people. So gold is easier, and it's smaller also than
And it's money.
Barrels of oil. So that's why I really think gold is the best way. So no.
So here's where I lose Egon. Gold's money. Oil's not. So why he made that comment, I know he's joking, but that should have been a slam dunk answer. Gold is money. Oil is not. I agree with the store, but you put a barrel in my safe, where I could easily put the gold. So it is smaller. So anyway.
Oil price, I think it will go up substantially, and so will gold. Well, first of all, I've learned not to give short-term forecasts because it serves no purpose. We're not interested in the short term. When you buy fire insurance for Taiwan, it's going to happen one day. And again, the U.S. is involved because they'll be on the Taiwan side, of course. The oil price, I think it's, I'm a gold man, and not because I love gold, because I think it's the best way to insure your wealth or preserve your wealth. But because oil is also very good, I think, because I think it'll go up. But it's hard to store at home or in a vault, for normal people. So gold is easier, and it's smaller also than having to have barrels of oil. So that's why I really think gold is the best way. So no, the oil price, I think, will go up substantially, and so will gold. Well, first of all, I've learned not to give short-term forecasts because it serves no purpose. We're not interested in the short term. When you buy,
I guess we missed that question.
For your house, you don't want your house to catch fire because you're insured. You're just happy that you have the insurance, and what you know is you have to buy it before the fire, because otherwise it's too late. And it's the same here. You buy your gold now. You don't wait for gold to go up. You should buy the gold when it goes down. That's when you should buy it. Over time, gold has always gone up because paper money has always gone down. So it's so easy. And therefore now, you buy at any time because you know that the way we measure gold is in useless money. And useless money will be worth less next year and the year after the year after. So therefore, you just buy your gold, hold it, forget about it. Don't look at the price every day. Yes, gold moves in periods of you. So we went in at the early 2000s, and gold was about $200, $300 per ounce, $300. So it's up in most currencies since then, at least 7 times, and in weaker currencies are up much more than that. So over time, if you're patient, it will always be right to hold gold. But, it's best to buy it when it's unloved and undervalued. That's what we did in around 2000. And I think right now it's also unloved and undervalued because nobody owns gold. It's still only 0.5% of world financial assets in gold.
Okay, so I got a problem with that. What does it mean nobody owns gold? We own gold. Greg and John, yes, Costco selling gold and silver. We own gold. Everybody in the class owns gold and silver. Again, he uses that 0.5% in a portfolio, which is misleading because the portfolio is in stocks or bonds or banking. But if everybody's taking their money like we are and buying gold coins with it, you don't see it in the portfolio. And with the inflation, the values are much higher. So before it was a millionaire, now it's a billionaire. And so when you divide it out, again, it's, it looks small, but I don't buy this 0.5% in the portfolio. I think people have a lot more gold. The central banks have a lot of gold, and Russia and China have a lot of gold. So I don't think you can look at individuals in their portfolios and make that comment. You don't have enough information. So I don't know, I don't know where he gets that from, what he's looking at. So I disagree with that.
I think also central banks, they can't hold dollars anymore because the US confiscates whatever country's dollars they want to confiscate, like Russia, for example. Who would hold dollars? So also dollar will decline. And therefore, much better to hold your reserves, your central bank reserves in gold. I think that will happen over a number of years. And that will mean a major revaluation of gold because there isn't enough gold in the world to satisfy central banks moving in. So you will see, it won't happen overnight. It will be gradual revaluation of gold by multiples, I would say.
So you're really bullish on gold on the mid to long term, and you think a revaluation will have to come pretty soon.
Yes, but I hope it will be just a market gradual revaluation, not something that artificial that central banks do, because that never works. Mm-hmm. Much better if it just happens because of demand.
Okay, good.
Right, free market.
So, Bryce, thank you very much for your time. Just one last question. We are on the Forum Gold. It used to be the Edelmetallmesse, so the precious metal conference. What is your overall feeling from the conference? It's the first time in this kind of style. How do you like it?
I think I always enjoy coming here to Munich and meeting German investors. It's the biggest gold market in Europe.
It is.
And the most knowledge also among people. And of course, this forum now.
It's the largest because of what happened in World War II with Hitler. They were all bankrupt, and they had the Great Depression in the 1920s. They actually went broke with the wheelbarrow. So, of course, they're going to hoard as much gold as they can because they don't want to go through what happened in the 1920s where they hyperinflated the money and it was worthless. So they know gold's the backup. So a lot more people than Egon gives credit to has gold. So I'm not quite sure what he's saying.
It's because we really look after bigger investors. So this is, for us, very good, this conference here. So we have lots of good meetings and people understand what's happening. So we find it very, very rewarding to be here.
Thank you very much. I think I would love to talk way longer with you, but maybe just as a really last question, as we can see, I'm a little bit younger. I'm the younger investor generation, and a lot of our people are also a little bit younger. You have lots of experience. What is your best advice you could give someone in my age, mid-20, 30, maybe a little bit older than 30? What's your best advice?
Number one, be a lifelong learner. I'm a lot older than you. I'm way past retirement age, but I'm still learning every day, and that's so much fun. That keeps you alive. So that's number one. Study, read, and you see what's happening in the world, and then you don't become someone who just read MSM, mainstream media. That just gives you the same propaganda all around the world. Read alternative news, read alternative reports, and think for yourself.
Right. So what he's saying is, don't trust the guy on the TV show or TV station that's giving you the information. You should know it, and that's what we're doing here. You should understand why you're buying gold, because they're printing the dollar, as he said. They're printing it to death. There's $200 trillion worldwide and a lot of derivatives. And it's just, you can't print it. He gets in on this next video about the debt, that you can't just not pay it. It'll destroy the assets. It'll destroy the money. And he talks about that. So we'll jump into that in a minute. Again, I apologize. I can't see the screen. It's black. And you guys can. So anyway, so that's why I'm like trying to fix it desperately. All right. Then we come to this one. Gold to outperform stocks.
It delivers head to toe.
If you look at stocks again,
So we have this one here, gold. Gold to outperform stocks. And what it is stocks are in the bubble, gold's gold. See, what he doesn't really say is gold cannot be printed, so it can never lose its value. It's always the dollar being devalued because they print it. The more they print, the less it's worth. That's what we keep saying. That's why we keep saying it. But you can't do it with gold. So gold, really, it's any asset that they don't print. The difference is gold. Well, look at oil. Is oil limited? I mean, I don't think oil is limited. Certainly not as limited as gold. There's plenty of oil around. So that was a stupid point he made. But oil, the price will probably go up again once they get rid of COMEX, because COMEX is screwing all the commodities. So it's not just gold and silver; it's also oil and sugar and farm orange juice and everything. Probably eggs. So in this video, he's going to talk more about what's going on. I don't want to interfere yet. At the end, I'm going to see there's a camera setting and it says you don't have access to this feature. You don't have access to that feature. I can manage the third. So I don't know why I don't have access to my camera, which seems to be the problem here. Now, let me check one more thing. Yeah. Nope, it's not letting me do that. Let's see, search an assistant. Allow access for apps and websites with the camera permission, and it's on. I don't know. I'll get into it. What pisses me off is if I go to like Best Buy and talk to these people or Target, they don't want to answer it. All right. See, yesterday I was on fine and I had the camera. Why don't I have it today? All right, so let's go into a little bit of
Gold now. I think stocks will decline against gold by more than 95% in coming years. And silver will be poor man's gold. Silver will also go up dramatically, probably faster than gold, probably twice as fast as gold.
So why did he say that? Because silver's $25 an ounce. So what's going to happen is gold becomes worth $4,000 or $5,000. People won't have the money because they're caught off guard. So they'll all jump into silver because it's so cheap. But again, he's talking about paper gold and silver, not actual free market gold and silver. So if we just get to a free market, gold, silver will go to the moon and not come down, and gold will also do the same thing. Neither of them are going to go up and down, although he seems to think that. All right, let's see.
Whether that's been in banking where I started or corporate life where I was in a vice chairman of a major retail company and the biggest consumer electronics retailer in the UK. Then, of course, in my own investment activities, I always focus on the risk and on the downside, because if you understand the downside risk, we all know that the upside takes care of itself. So, and I already at the end of the 90s, I decided that this is not going to end well. And I saw debt building up. I saw obviously derivatives building up also at levels already then, which I thought were unsustainable. And then, of course, we had the tech stock run also, which actually I was very concerned about also. And I was involved with a tech company and told my partner we should sell. We did sell at the beginning of 2000, and that the people who bought it went bust like everybody else. Companies were going at 10 times sales with no profits. So those kind of risks I always understood and focused on, and of course then we had this 2006-9 problem also in the world, and all that has happened since then is just unlimited credit creation. And that's what kept the world going and GDP increasing. Real GDP hasn't increased for years. And the financial system now is a massive bubble. Stock markets are in a bubble. The economy is only being kept up by excessive credit, which is, of course, fake money. And I think that, you can never, forecasting is a mug's game. And to be forecast a specific time or date serves no purpose. So instead, we look at risk. And to me, the risk is now excessive, has been for a while. You never know when things are going to happen. And our whole really strategy or vision has been to protect against this risk. It probably has to do with my age also. When you're young, you trade, you invest, and you're active. At this point, I think, and especially now at this, where the world is now, I think wealth preservation is becoming absolutely essential, because I think the world economy, the markets, and asset prices are going to collapse. As simple as that. Whether that happens in 2024, I don't know, and I don't care. But the risk is that it will do, and I think there's a high chance. But it doesn't matter. I think the most important thing is to protect against that risk and not worry about the day it happens. We know one thing for certain, that you can't buy your fire insurance when the fire has started, so you've got to protect now.
So to answer your question, Luke, we don't know when it is, but as I said, this is why I use the Titanic for an example. We know the ship got hit by an iceberg. We know the water's coming in, and we know it's going to sink. So we get off the boat as soon as we can, and then let the boat, when it sinks, but we're already off the boat. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. He can see, so I can see they're printing the money. They've printed $20 trillion in the US, $200 trillion in the world of paper, of worthless paper. They keep printing and printing because it's the only way to kind of help the dead and help everybody and give Social Security and welfare and everything, is through these, just using printing fake dollars. So we know it's going to crash because that's what happens, right? If you put a cake in the oven and you turn on the oven, we know the cake's gonna get baked, right? So we know the dollar's going to go and collapse because it's not backed by anything. And you can't just keep printing and printing and having this big debt. It's going to lose its value. It's just a matter of time. So we get out of the game now and we buy our gold and silver, and we know it's going to happen. And to answer Luke and Bobby, when, we don't have a date, but we know it's going to happen. We know Kansas City's going to win the Super Bowl. We don't know how it's going to be played out, but they won. We knew they were going to beat Lamar and Baltimore, and they did. The only difference is when the game's scheduled because it's on the schedule. But we knew Mahomes was going to win, and that's the same thing here. We know this is all going to happen. It's just we don't know when, but we know it will happen. It's not a guess. It's not an opinion it's going to happen. It's a fact. You cannot print this kind of money, and you can see other countries, Venezuela, Argentina, Sri Lanka, Turkey, Zimbabwe, Greece, and there's Pakistan. All these countries are having inflation, and they're all printing too much money. The Eurozone, Germany's bankrupt. Today I sent a message to Jenna and I said, how's it going? She's in Berlin. And I said, how's it going there? They're bankrupt. So she says, well, how about the US? I says, we're bankrupt too. I said, everybody's bankrupt. The whole world is bankrupt. That's why we bought gold and silver. And then I made a comment like, well, how did you enjoy your economic class? He said, I don't need an economic class. I said, you just had one. Because that's what money is, right? If you print it, it's really worthless if it's not backed by gold. And that was the lesson. And then that's why we have gold, because as demand for gold piles in and you can't print supply, the price goes up. So on one hand, it's protection. On the other hand, we will make a lot of money on it.
People who are going to stay in these bubble markets are going to have a shock. Well, whether that happens in 24, as I said, we will know afterwards. But I think the risk is high, and therefore I think now is the time to protect your assets rather than to try to make money. As Richard Russell said, that the people who in the market we're going to see in the next few years, people who lose the least are the winners, because there are not going to be many people who make a lot of money. That's absolutely certain.
We're going to make a lot of money, that's for sure.
That's not my view looking from above. You could say a bit pessimistic, but I'm not a pessimist at all. I love life. I love being active in business. I love people. But I don't think that the euphoric era we've had now for at least 20 years, or you can say 50 years too, since 1971, that is over. And we're seeing the very final stages of that in markets also, in my view. So I think we better be careful. And then we haven't even touched upon the geopolitical side. To me, that is looking extremely dangerous now. And that includes not just the various wars we have, but also the migration and therefore internal problems in many countries. If you take the social unrest due to poverty, which will across borders also, and there's a risk of that in global debt, plus derivatives, which is a quasi debt, and nobody knows how big they are because you have the shadow banking system. But they could easily be a couple of quadrillion in my expectation. And that couple of quadrillion could easily become real debt one day when central banks have to try to save the banking system by giving the banks support for these enormous derivative portfolios that they're carrying. So therefore, it's hard to be optimistic about this. I think we have to go through this.
Do the new digital technologies play a role in some way, shape, or form? Is there something else that comes to the forefront? What do you see?
He just said it's gold.
There is no miracle cure for this. The digital system that the world is talking about is just another form of fiat money and is no solution whatsoever. They will try that, during this final collapse. They will try all kinds of funny money and say, no, the old dollar debt is gone and we have now the new dollar, and that will solve everything. But it's just another form of printed money that cannot solve anything. I disagree with. Of course, new strong leaders will come up at some point, but I disagree with Neil Howe. They're not going to solve the problem. The world has never been, as far as I know, in a situation where globally every single major economy is indebted to the extent that they can never get out of it. China has a better chance of getting out of their debt situation because it's more domestic than for any other country, i.e. they're not borrowing across borders, so therefore they can settle it internally, but they will suffer like everybody else. So I don't think that there is a solution. I know I sound pessimistic, but the fact is that no one should believe that this debt will ever be repaid, because it's impossible. And if it isn't repaid, the financial system and the world economy will collapse. It's as simple as that. Because you can't live on a debt mountain and eat the debt, because that's all there is to eat in the end, because we cannot afford anything else. But it's like, let me just jump over to energy. We're also got to the end of an energy system. We're actually at peak energy, because the cost of producing the energy cost of producing energy is now so high that we actually have a declining return on energy, which is also, the world is actually prospering not from hard work or inventions. That helps, but we have to have the energy, and no one should believe that getting rid of fossil fuels can ever solve the situation. 83% fossil fuels today the world is dependent on, and that's going to take a long, long time. And all the alternative sources of energy, I hope that will happen, but it will take a lot longer than anybody believes. If you could replace fossil fuels by wind energy, for example, then Daedalus and Icarus, the Greek, the father and the son who created who were flying and had some wax to attach the wings, and then got too close to the sun and crashed and died. If wind energy would have worked already in those Greek mythology, then they would have been billionaires already then. Wind energy. The problem is you can't store anything else but fossil fuel. Okay, we're getting out on a tangent, but what I'm saying is that on top of all the financial problems and the social problems and the political problems, we also have a major energy problem in the world that no one is talking about. But we are actually looking at peak energy. And I'm only talking about fossil fuels, because all the rest, as I said, will take a long, long time before it can actually replace fossil fuels, if that's ever possible. Sure, long term it may be possible, but there's nothing we see today except for nuclear energy that can replace fossil fuels. So therefore, I think we are. I don't see any solutions for the world, and I don't see any new leaders who are going to come up with miracle solutions.
The only thing you can do is gold.
Leaders in a democratic world, and you can question if we have a democracy today in the Western countries. But leaders in democratic countries, they have one purpose: that's to be re-elected. And to be re-elected, they have to buy votes, and to buy votes, they have to spend money. And the only way now is by issuing more debt, because there is no money. We don't have surpluses to spend. Every time every leader spends money today, sending money to Ukraine, sending money to Israel, etc., sending money to the poor. It's all printed money. We don't have the money, and a new leader is not going to be able to create that money either. And we're never, remember, debt has gone from virtually nothing 50 years ago to, as I said, 300 trillion plus contingent liabilities plus derivatives, etc. So we're not going to ever reduce that debt. So it has to implode, and there'll be no leader in the world who can ever create a miracle and make all of that disappear, and life goes on. I go on about this because, but it is, nobody's focusing on the solution, and nobody will, because politically that's suicide. So everybody will have a solution. Every opposition leader will have a solution, and when he gets into power, he'll be as useless as the one who's running the country now. So, I don't want to be pessimistic, but that's to me that is a fact. It's only a question of time. Things take longer than you expect, and this could take much longer than we all expect. But at the same time, we are getting to that final, the final 5 minutes now in the world economy of that stadium being filled, and that can happen so quickly. So therefore, we could see now things accelerating, starting in 24, for example.
Okay, I'm going to return to my question and just ask it a slightly different way. I agree with everything that you've said. Also spent a fair amount of my time in the whole, net energy space as well. So I very much understand what you're talking about there. So let's play out the remaining 5 minutes. They have happened. We're at minute 50. Everything that was going to kind of break has broken, right? Presumably, as long as the planet is still here, it'll still rotate and the sun will come up in the morning. So currencies may be destroyed, debt may have collapsed, right? What does come next? Putting on your realist
Gold-backed currency
hat, if you will. Like what emerges after from this? What do you think are the more sustainable solutions that emerge from the rubble?
So on currencies, of course, as we said before, since no currency has survived, there's always been a new currency coming out. In the meantime, people, depending on where and what time of history, people go back to barter. It's possible that in the transition between.
Okay, so just to quickly do it, this was taken about a year ago, but the idiot lost it or didn't play it or didn't edit it. So this is really something about 12 months ago or 10 months ago. So first of all, we got Zimbabwe with the gold-backed currency, and we have the BRICS with the gold-backed currency. So we will transfer to the gold-backed currency. There's not going to be barter. How do you even barter? What am I going to take an ounce of silver to the grocery store to buy milk and eggs? So it doesn't make any, you can't really barter it. And the grocery stores aren't going to go out of business. So there'll be a new currency, and it should be a gold-backed currency. And I wonder if we can use the BRICS gold-backed currency. That's what should happen. So let's hear.
Existing monetary system and the new one, we will have barter. It's possible that gold will play a role, or silver also. But the problem is there are too few people who own gold and silver today for it to become a viable money for buying little things. So I would expect there'll be more of a barter system, and gold and silver will play a role, but not a major role for 8 billion people in the world. Because remember that
Why not? I think exactly gold and silver. I think a lot more people have it than you are giving credit to us. And what did the Romans do? I mean, everybody didn't have gold and silver. There was a lot of people in the Roman Empire because they kept expanding and expanding. So I don't believe that. I think you have to look what BRICS is doing. They're coming out with a gold-backed currency. That's why they need to make the price high, because you'll get the gold-backed currency because you can't keep printing it, right? So I think the gold-backed currency from BRICS is exactly what's going to happen. And that's how they're doing it. Instead of letting everything collapse, they're coming out with the gold-backed currency from BRICS. And we just simply move over there. And I think we use the gold-backed currency. So we exchange our dollars that are worthless for gold-backed currency. Maybe it's 100 to 1 or something. Maybe it's 25 to 1. But that's the point. You do that. It's funny. In this video, he says, well, $100 bill in 1971 is now worth what a $20 bill is. I love that one. He said that. I don't know. I have to find it. But anyway, that's not true. I mean, you just replace your dollars with gold and silver like we're doing now, right? We have the worthless dollar, right? We have this, but what do? We go buy gold, right? Pretend this is gold. We just trade it. So why would it be any different? All you got to do is say, okay, we're phasing out the dollar, and here's the new dollar, and it's gold back. And then everybody takes the useless dollar and buys the gold back currency. And then all 8 billion people have it. I don't know what he's talking about. The poor people are poor. They don't have money now. What's the difference, right, Greg and John? You don't have any money. You're broke. So what difference does it make to you what you do? Because you can't, I don't know how you eat now if you're broke. And then what are you going to do when the gold back currency comes? And you're going to need money to buy it. So that's all that happens. There's no barter system.
World financial assets, gold represents today only 0.5%, so it's not widely owned at all.
That's not true.
I think there will be some temporary money that it always has been. When the Weimar Republic collapsed, they came out with the Rentenmark, based on property values. So when the crisis starts, the governments will come up with new money. And then they will establish a new currency. And in the meantime, people will just manage by as I said, by bartering, by begging, by getting handouts.
That's ridiculous. Begging.
And then we will have new currency systems in most countries again. That's what happened always throughout history. So I don't see any difference now. But it's not going to be. I hope I don't like having gold back currencies, because automatically that will lead to governments cheating. And I would,
they don't cheat now, do they, Egon?
The gold was real gold, and not backing a currency, but still representing constant purchasing power. And new governments will not base a new system on debt. People will be so afraid of debt for the next 50 years, I promise you, because no one will, any new leader will not dare to even talk about debt more than in very, very small portions. So therefore, we will have a sound system for a long time before the cycle turns around again. But until then, in between there'll be a panic. There will be people will not have any money at all. People will. You talk about population or something. People will suffer. Of course, will be suffering. The world population has grown from about a billion in 1850.
Just in the interim, but I'm not sure if humans are wired that way. All right. Well, look. So you've got a relatively dire message, I guess, here for the general populace, which is, hey, look, we're going to have some troubling times.
Buy gold.
Now let's get to the point where the individual has some agency in this story. They can't control what happens to the global pile of debt. They can't decide what the world governments and central planners decide to do, but they can basically put on their own oxygen masks first, right? So what would some of your
How's he
recommendations
talking
be?
about
I'm assuming
oxygen
getting
masks?
some exposure to gold and silver, probably something you're going to recommend. True, and if so, what else above and beyond that?
Nothing.
Yes, well, obviously, we started, or I started our business now, which is called National Asset Management, or URL is called Switzerland, and started that just beginning of this century. And for the simple reason that we started for ourselves and a few friends we were advising, that we saw these risks, and we decided that we're not still not gold bugs. We were just looking at the best way of protecting against the risks that I saw coming. And then, of course, you have to remember that.
So what he really should have said, if he really knew, was we saw the dollar not backed by gold anymore in 1971. We knew they would print it to zero like every other currency in the world since the beginning of time. And we knew the only thing that doesn't get printed is gold. That is a safe haven because they don't print it. That's the answer that he should have answered. He's not a gold bug. I don't know what that means. Am I a gold bug? I don't know what that means. Do I collect baseball cards? Yeah. Do I collect gold? Yes. Do I collect Rolexes? Well, I would, but I don't have any. I'd rather make my money on sports cars and gold. It's cheaper to buy a $2,000 ounce of gold than it is a $50,000 Rolex. But you're in gold because they can't inflate it. It's as simple as that. It's a very simple concept. They can't print it. It'll never go down in value. They're trying to push it down artificially by the government, and it's still being bought, and all the central banks are buying it. Russia and China are buying it, and India. So they know that's the way to go. And at the end of the day, the dollar's going out because it's not backed by anything. That's really what you need to know. And gold can't go anywhere because of that. So does that make you a gold bug? I don't know what that means. Somebody who collects gold, we are investing in gold and collecting it because it's the only sound money there is, not like the Bitcoin casino we talked about yesterday. All right, let's go.
71 gold went from $35 to $850 in 1980, and then it slowly declined for 20 years to 250 in 1999.
No, but see, that's because COMEX kept the price down. It didn't decline. The paper gold declined because of the derivatives that JP Morgan did to keep the price down, because I guess they think we're all stupid. So you would keep the interest away from gold by putting it in the dollar, keeping it into the Madoff, Wall Street, and the banks. So the only way the banks could survive is to keep you in the dollar. But they've screwed that up, and now the dollar's worthless. And now the only where to go is the gold. That's why you got to ignore the financial planners who are playing the game for Madoff, saying, no, buy stocks, buy bonds, go in the bank. That's what happened.
So when we went in, which was 2002, we were watching it for a while. In 2002, gold was 300, and then we went in and bought gold for ourselves.
So if he was smart, he'd have bought it at 35 an ounce in 71.
So that was never meant as a business, but then people started asking us, can you help us too? Because we created a system with holding physical gold, in your own name, no counterparty, then outside the banking system, in the safe as well, dealing directly with the refiners who buying gold from them, etc. And then we set up a company based on that, and now there's a business where we, which is global, and we are probably the biggest when it comes to high net worth individuals holding physical gold outside the banking system. One of our vaults is in the Swiss Alps, which is the biggest private gold vault in the world. So we have, and we've done this gradually and slowly, but we have a passion for helping people to preserve wealth. Now, you could say that, okay, we cater for people who have a certain wealth. For example, our mountain vault is a minimum of 5 million, but our other vaults are $400,000. Still very high, but there are other people, and we can recommend people who start much lower. And you take Argentina. No, I meant Venezuela. It was Venezuela and the Bolivar. So people around 2000, they could have bought. The Bolivar was about the same as the dollar.
Bolivia,
gold
Bolova.
for nothing, basically, and that would have saved them today. And they could have just bought, a little bit, and that would have taken care of them and their family for a long time to come. I met somebody in a restaurant in the Italian part of Switzerland a couple of years ago, and he said, "I know you." I was, "I know you." I told my friend, "You should listen to him. He's into gold." And they said, he came from former Yugoslavia, this man, and he was the restaurant owner now. And he said, "I lived through the hyperinflation Yugoslavia, and I had some gold. The rest of my family didn't. They lost everything, and I managed to get out of Yugoslavia and buy a restaurant here in Switzerland." What I'm saying is that you don't have to be wealthy to put some of your money into gold. It can be grams of gold or fractions of ounces, or it can be ounces of silver, which costs today 20.
So what he's saying is, when gold goes to 50,000 an ounce, if you even have a gram and you spend $100 on it, at $2,000, we'll multiply it by 25, so you'll make out. And then what he doesn't say is gold will be the money. And that's what we're waiting for.
$5 for an ounce of silver. If you do that today, with the way I see the world developing and the currencies collapsing, that will save you and give you a nest egg which will last you for a long time when the crisis starts. So saving in gold and silver is for everyone, not just.
See, Greg and John?
You could skip that last cup coffee that you buy a Costa coffee, wherever you go, or the pack of cigarettes, or the last beer. Put it into put a little bit of silver or a little bit of gold. So that's one way for people. And for bigger investors, as I said, that we help them to put it into the safest place. So that's an obvious way of protecting against the risks that we see today. And we went in 2000. Gold in most currencies are up 7 to 8 times since 2000. And I think we have just seen
paper gold
of the rise of the precious metals. And I see the acceleration phase, and we don't care about the short-term moves. We don't look at the price short-term. We see how much gold we and our investors own, whether it's a gram or an ounce, whatever it is. That's what counts, not the daily price. It's irrelevant. You don't buy gold to make money. You buy gold and silver to protect your wealth and protect against the risks that now are greater than ever in history. That's how we see it. So that's what people should do. And then put it away and just use a little bit of the savings or more. If you look at stocks against gold now, I think stocks will decline against gold by more than 95% in coming years. And silver will be poor man's gold. Silver will also go up dramatically, probably faster than gold, probably twice as fast as gold. But silver is very volatile, and it goes when it corrects also twice as fast. So it's not for widows and
I disagree. That's paper silver.
But I think
He doesn't know what physical. There's no trend on it.
metals, and that's a much safer method at all. So that's clearly what people should do. At any.
So my point is, listening to him, this is why I tell you don't buy the gold stocks and the silver stocks. The stock market crashes 95%. Okay, so all these other guys on YouTube, all these other idiots are saying, oh, buy this stock, buy that stock. These are Keynesians trying to keep you into the paper Madoff, right? Stay in stocks, stay in money. He just says it's going to go down 95%. That's why I tell Luke and Bobby, don't buy these stocks because they're going to collapse. So I looked at Newmont yesterday, it was 33. It was 50, goes down to 33. When this crashes, it'll be like 5 or 10. Why do you want to buy it at 33 and it's going to crash to 5 or 10 when you can buy the ounce of gold and silver and it's going to go to the moon? And then you're going to have to wait for the gold stock to come back up. Now we know the gold stock's going to come up because we know the gold and silver prices will go up. But again, it's priced in dollars and we got to be careful with that. So that's why I say do not get into the stocks. Get out of the stocks. Just get into gold and silver. Keep it simple. Buy the coins, and that's it. And you don't have to worry about why worry about your stock going down 95%?
Levels, and not just the wealthy people. Now, what else can people do? Well, of course, you can, if you have
Mickey Mantle curse.
if you want to, but most people won't, you can buy a bit of food and dry food that lasts a number of years, etc. If you want, because there will be food shortages. There's no question about that. There will be people who will not get enough to eat. So to have a bit of food, spare food, will obviously be beneficial. But then I think the most important thing, Adam, because as I said before, a lot of people will suffer. The most important thing is to help people. And if you have the ability, and that can be help, just helping the elderly with.
And that's what we do. I help my friends at the club.
Fake money and new monetary systems and digital currency, etc. There's nothing. You cannot create prosperity out of thin air. And that's what they're trying to do.
See, Bitcoin, right?
Therefore, the printing will just lead to the final collapse, which is inevitable and it's always happened in history. But currencies don't just decline; they go to zero every time. Every time in history, there's no currency in history that has ever survived. Remember that all currencies have gone to zero. And we have now seen an era since 1971 when every single currency has gone down between 97 and 99%. And I'm measuring that in gold terms, of course, because gold is the only.
Yeah, but gold's price fixed. So what is he saying? He's saying every currency has gone down to zero. So it's not an opinion that I take by gold. It's a fact that every currency has gone to zero. And we started the Romans, right? They collapsed. Everybody, Spain, France, England, the Amsterdam, they all collapsed. And this is the point. It's not will it, it's it will. It's 100%. It's 100% that, Kansas City played Frisco in the Super Bowl. Once they announced it the week before, it was 100% they were going to play. And it was 100% there was going to be a winner. And it was 99% it was going to be Mahomes. So when you get to this, it's 100% the currency is going to zero. It's not, well, geez, it might not. And I do use that in the term. I say, well, if you buy gold and silver and nothing happens, which is impossible, it's going to dissolve. then you can take your gold and silver back to the coin store and he'll gladly give you money, which is happening now. When I go in there and he's got gold, it's because people have returned the gold for the money. And they think because gold's at 2175 that it's the all-time high, it's a good time to sell. It's not the all-time high. It's the all-time high for paper gold. But we're not counting on paper gold. We're counting on physical gold, and we're counting on all the dollars to be destroyed, all the currencies going to zero, which leaves gold at a physical price. And you're not going to see 2,000 or 2,200 again. You're going to add a zero. You're going to see 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 because it'll be not paper derivative pushed. It'll be hopefully free market. BRICS needs a higher gold price, and then hopefully it becomes free market. That's the only thing that can stop us is it doesn't go free market, but it still should go to at least 20,000 because BRICS is going to, there's not a lot of gold, right, for all these people. So they're going to have a high gold value to come out with all these gold-backed currencies for BRICS. So that's why gold, I'm pretty confident will be 20. And then if we can get a free market price, then you'll see 50. And I hope we can. We'll know more after that. BRICS is announcing it May 14th. They have the green light, as Mark McGuire told us, and so we're looking forward to that. But as you can see, everyone, 100%. So it's not like we think it might happen. The Lions winning the Super Bowl will never happen, but it could happen, right? But Mahomes winning the Super Bowl is almost like, well, yeah, we know that's going to happen. So using that as the analogy, we know gold's going to zero, or we know the dollars are going to zero because they always have 100% of the time. So that's what's going on.
Stable purchasing power, and therefore the only money that has ever survived in history. So we have to go through this final.
Gold is the only one he's talking about.
97 to 99% debt. We have to go through the final 1 to 3% collapse of the currency system, and with that will also the debt system collapse. Also, there's no chance of surviving. No debts will ever be repaid. As I said, federal debt, banking debt, private debt. Nothing will be repaid. No one can afford to repay. We're just increasing it exponentially now. And I've mentioned in an article, in an interview a couple of times, what happens with exponential moves. I've taken the example of a stadium that is being filled with water. 1 drop the first minute, 2 drops the second, 4, 8, 7, doubles every minute. And it takes. Nobody can understand it. It takes about 50 minutes for the stadium to fill full by just a drop, 1 drop, 2 drops, 4 drops, etc. But what is interesting is that after 45 minutes, if you ask people how full do you think the pool is, or the stadium is, well, nobody guesses, but it's actually only 7% full after 45 minutes. So it's in the last 5 minutes it goes from 7% full to 100% full, and I think that's where we are now, and therefore we can see now how debt now goes up exponentially, and I forecast when Trump was elected, I said that the debt will be within at 8 years later the debt will be 40 trillion. I said it was 20 then when he took over, and so we're not going to at the end of this year we might be just under 40 trillion, but that's easy one. And because debt basically in the US on average doubles every 8 years, federal debt. That takes us to 100 trillion in 2036. 100 trillion debt. And let us say that I believe that interest rates can also be higher. I think they're going up again. They're 10%, which is not unusual in history. I remember 20% or 21% my first mortgage in the UK in 1973. So, we say 10% interest on 100 trillion debt for the US. That's going to be bankruptcy, only that. So, we have to, it won't work. You can't write off debt, because if you write off debt, you have to, the assets that the debt is backing will also go to zero. So therefore, this has to collapse the system, whether we like it or not. We have to get down to a much lower level and then start to grow from there with a sound growth. And it's only at that point the good leaders come in. Now I will go back to what can be done. And we're not going to have any good leaders now. There's not a single statesman in the world right now, certainly not in the West.
That's because of George Soros getting everybody elected who are weak leaders. Because George Soros wants this to happen because he's a Nazi and he wants revenge for World War II. So he's collapsing the world and he wins. And he's got all these inefficient leaders elected. Look how Trump was going to win. And then all of a sudden Biden got all these votes at 4 a.m. and he won, some key states and he's elected. And then all this can happen. So if Soros doesn't fix the election, Trump's in and his little plan's out. But so this is all to blame is Soros, because he's the one who put all these idiots in charge.
We could argue that Putin is the biggest statement, but he's hated by anyone. So just mentioning his name means that nobody will agree with that. But certainly there is not a single statement in the West, and sadly, you take the biggest economy in the world, and until now the mightiest, the US, doesn't have a leader today who leads the country. It's very sad, We're all going to get old. I'm not much younger than Biden, but I just hope that my wife or my colleagues will tell me this. We've had enough of you now. You're talking nonsense, and they'll kick me out because. But this is what I'm saying. There's a lack of leadership, and I don't see this ending well. I don't see anyone. You look at one president builds a wall. The other one tears it down and opens it up. It's typical. There's no consistency anywhere. And as I've said, countries, the migration, we talked about it, but countries have no policy for anything, including migration. There's absolutely, countries are leaderless. And therefore, there is no chance, in my view, to have an orderly restructuring of the world economy of the world.
And that's where BRICS comes in. BRICS comes in with gold, which they know will work. And that's the key to it is, yes, you can't have the paper that's printed, the paper dollar. It's worthless. This is worth zero because it's not backed by gold. But here comes BRICS. In May, they're going to announce the green light to go ahead with the gold-backed BRICS currency, and that will save everything. But this is like I said, a year away, so it doesn't really say that. But that's really the point of it. BRICS, because it's gold-backed currency, you can trust it, and you can't print it to zero. See, the currencies, all the currencies that went to zero were not backed by gold. I don't know if he said that or not. Maybe he said currencies not backed by gold, 100% went to zero. Currencies backed by gold, 100% didn't go to zero until they unbacked them with gold. Look at the U.S. Look at the whole world from 1944 when they did Bretton Woods, or 1945 to 1971. The whole world's on gold, and it's very prosperous. I have something in here. I think it was the 3 times that the world grew was 1879 to 1914. The whole world was on the gold standard, and it grew like 5%, and it worked very well. So that is the point. Is if you have sound money, you're fine. And this shows you when you don't have sound money and they think they can just keep printing. And so what we do is we take advantage of it. So we're kind of like Egon in that fact we're trying to help people. But I look at it from a gambler, football handicapper, economist, mathematician that says, well, wait a minute, if it's been held down by COMEX and we release it, it's not really worth 2,200, it's really worth 22,000. And then everybody will jump on as the frenzy happens because now they're afraid because they realize that their dollars are worthless. So here comes the fear and here comes that. And there's people with money that will buy the gold and jack the price up. And then here comes BRICS with the gold back currency and people will pay for it. And knowing Russia and China, they'll jack the price up on it. And that's really, that'll be the whole point of it, right? So as the frenzy and the fear starts taking in, oh my God, I'm going to be poor, my dollar's worthless. And then they'll figure out they can buy gold and silver. That's why silver is going to really zoom because gold will go to 5,000 and people, the richer people will be able to afford it. But the regular guy, works at the grocery store is not going to be able to. He can afford silver. And that's what I keep telling these lifeguards, at least buy 3 or 4 ounces of silver a couple times a month. It's $100, but you get 4 ounces. And believe me, 20 ounces of silver at $1,000 an ounce is 20,000, and you paid $100 for it, or you paid, 100 times 5. You paid $500, and now it's worth 20 grand. And that's what I'm telling them. Just buy it. It's cheap. Just buy it. It's not, I know that the dollar's going out, the gold and silver will go up because we like it because you can't print it. We know gold and silver has to go up because there's nothing else. All right. Yeah. Rolex and a mantle card. How many Rolexes are there and how many people want to spend 50 grand on a Rolex or a mantle card? So those are good for the rich. But everybody else, they can afford $25 for silver. So go buy it, but buy it now. You can't wait until, like he says, you can't buy fire insurance after your house is on fire. So you buy it now. So you've got to buy it now and understand this is coming and brace for it, right? So there's a big tidal wave coming. So, get out of the house and go to the mountains because there's tidal waves coming, or the hurricane or tornado. The tornado's coming, you get into the cellar. So we know this is crashing, so you get into gold and silver now. You don't wait till the end, and you buy as much as you can, and then you buy more because you can't have enough, as Luke asked me.
Political situation. I mean, you just take the war. The war's going on now. Why is no one trying to start peace talks? Only the US, which is still not for long, I think, the mightiest country in the world militarily, but I think that's already slowly or quickly evaporating. But somebody should start these peace negotiations, but nobody's interested. The world wants more. The people who are pulling the strings of Biden, they want more war. And they, as we know, this is a war of the U.S. against Russia, not Ukraine against Russia, and the same in Israel. So sadly, but there's not a leader who actually can take the lead here and do something about it, and that's what.
Right, and that's what we know. So I think we've heard enough. So we know the story. We've seen the movie. We know what's going to happen. It's happened every time. You have money not backed by anything. You have corrupt governments all over the world put in place by George Soros with the only intention to destroy the world economy. But then we've got BRICS, Germany, or China, Russia, India, Saudi Arabia, Brazil, and South Africa, and Kuwait, or whatchamacallit, Dubai, smart enough to understand the game. See, they've been on the sidelines letting it happen because they don't want to get interfered. They don't want the U.S. to bomb them or nuke them or anything. So they're just letting it all crumble. And these wars are very expensive, so they're making it crumble faster. So my guess is what they'll do is they'll come out with a different currency and say, well, that was Putin's fault. Let's try this one. And it won't be any good if it's not backed by gold, it's not a good currency. And you shouldn't trust it. And if it's debt, you certainly shouldn't trust it. Because as you see, the debt's 35 trillion and they can't pay it back. They never will, according to Egon, and I agree. And then you got to get rid of the assets. That's why I don't think we'll have to pay our credit cards and our mortgage back. Because as everything goes out, you wipe the debt out, you wipe the assets out. Well, we have debt with the banks, but the banks, they're not going to be able to. So you owe 10 grand to Chase. You don't owe it anymore. How can you? There's no money to pay it with because the money's gone. And that's what'll happen. But Chase, they'll all be out because they'll have to cancel all their assets and their debt. And so their books will have zero debt, zero assets. So they'll all be bankrupt. So I don't think we'll have to pay we'll see what happens, but I don't think we'll have to pay our credit card or our mortgages and keep it inside. Like I said, your house will be worthless in dollars. So really what'll happen is the dollar goes out. So everything valued in dollars goes out. Then there should be gold replacing it. And I disagree with Egon there's 8 billion people. They can't all buy gold. Well, I disagree with that. There's 8 billion people. How do they all buy this, right? How do they all buy the euro? Believe me, there's more people in the Eurozone than there are euros. Or if you have to print enough for everybody, you're doomed from the start because you're going to have to print so much money and then it's losing value. So the 5 doesn't buy you coffee. But what'll happen is what he doesn't talk about is Say's law. In other words, when you go to work, you're going to get paid something besides dollars. So they're going to pay you in a gold-backed currency or whatever the currency is. You're going to use that to pay everything. So I don't agree with all this barter and all this. I think doesn't make any sense. How are you going to barter? So you go to the grocery store. You think the grocery stores are just going to go out? Kroger's is just not going to exist anymore? Target, Myers, Costco are just not going to exist? They're billion-dollar businesses. They'll find a way. They'll figure out a way to accept something, and that's it. It ain't going to be Bitcoin. Again, that only works in the Bitcoin casino, not in the real world. So with that said, I'm glad you could see it. So I think my problem is on my phone, I can see this, but on my laptop, I can't. So my laptop's black, but so here's what I'm seeing. I'll take a quick picture of it. This is what I'm seeing. I'm just seeing normally I see what's on the phone and or what you're seeing, which is me. So it's throwing me off because I'm used to seeing me. And then when I put this up, I can center it. So this is what I'm seeing is black, but yet on the screen on my phone, I do see the screen. So it's really weird. hard to explain. So yes, I believe there's a setting, but I don't know how it's sort of like when my mic goes. I'm not touching my mic setting and my mic worked fine now. So I don't know what's happening, that sometimes when my mic gets turned off, if it's being used by another program, I have no idea. Is my video being used by another video that I don't know? So we will see. Anyway, so we know the Titanic's happening, the boat's sinking, the dollar's going out. There's nothing they can do. There's what? There's $20 trillion in the US. There's $300 trillion in the world in every currency. And it's just too much. But there's nothing backing it. So it's all worthless. So with all that money out there, this has to stop. And there's a lot of debt and they print more. That's why we haven't collapsed yet. And that's why the gold and silver hasn't gone through the roof yet. They're still printing money to buy the derivatives, even though the money is not worth anything. So let's see what happened to gold today. We know it's paper gold. We get that. So it's 9 o'clock. I got 21.72 and silver at 24.65. Now we know both prices are fake. See, this is my point. These are paper prices, not physical. Why there's no physical chart, I don't understand that. That's incredibly stupid. That's how corrupt the government is. We're just going to put a paper price and we're not even going to put a gold price. Then all these guys quote the paper price, and sometimes Egon says, well, we're not even looking at it because we know everything's going to go broke and we'll have the gold and silver. And it's funny how his clients are these big clients. So if all these big clients are in Egon's safe and under the mountains, the Swiss mountains, then how is it 0.5% of the portfolios have gold in it? So there's something wrong here because it can't be right, again, because of the inflation, and there's more billionaires and trillionaires, that it's skewing what the amount of gold is. Because if you think about it, take 300 trillion and divide it by how many ounces of silver is there, right? There's only 250,000 ounces or 50,000 tons of it. So of course it's going to look smaller and smaller. So he's doing what the Bitcoin guy did, where he's calling Bitcoin's, the guy's calling it money, doesn't even know what money is. Bitcoin's money. It's a lot of the properties of gold, but it's Bitcoin and we don't want to buy gold. So anyway, yes, Greg and John, they have gold at Costco. So we've told you that a while ago. And so I'm going to end this shortly. And then I'm going to come back just to try to figure out what the hell's going on here. There's a help if I can find it. It's not easy. And just try to figure out, how do I get my camera? Up here, it says you don't have access to this feature, which is the camera. But that might be just to take a picture of me here. There's a pop-out dashboard. I'll try that, and send feedback. So I'll try that. But yeah, basically I can't see this has never happened. Like I said, when I first came on, it was happening, and I ended the stream and tried it again, and I'm like, but I can see my white light on, and as you can see on my phone, it works. So why does it work on my phone, but it doesn't work on my laptop? So I'm sure it's a laptop setting, but I didn't change settings. So it's very confusing to me. And I don't like when I can't When I don't change anything and I get comfortable, and then all of a sudden this happens and I get uncomfortable because I'm not used to it. So anyway, I like everything to be the way it's supposed to be. All right. Anything else? Any other questions or comments? I saw those two things on Egon. I'm on late because I went swimming. I then stopped and got gas. I stopped at Walmart to get chocolate when they didn't have my 80 and 90 dark chocolates. They didn't, my kind they didn't have. I got some avocados and basically stopped for gas. And unfortunately, the place I stopped, which is normally the lowest, was not the lowest, which was surprising. And outside of that, then I got a call for another job lead where they're like, well, I'd like to talk to you about a job. And then we talked. I sent him my resume. So that was a half-hour interview that I'm getting a lot of those. So people are asking me about jobs. And I go, well, I'm getting these calls from recruiters. They're interested. And he was from Milwaukee. And so I told him about Harley. And I told him my manager, and he knew my manager. And so we'll see how that goes. But it shouldn't really be a bearing on this. She's not one of my references because they don't give references. But anyway, that's what's happening. So again, another call for a job that I don't know if it's real or not, or just submitting the resume. And they're doing it. If I was a business, I'd be out of business. I would just be buying gold like I'm doing. That's the business I'm in. Unemployment, I had to go. So you go online and you apply, and then you got it. And then you have to go into what's called Michigan Works, which is a work thing. And it's insurance, right? It's unemployment insurance, which is really strange because you're paying into it. So then you go online and you say, yes, this, and this, but then you got to go in and kind of check in. And so I had to go check in and say, yes, this is me. And they look at the pay, okay, fine. That's you. That took a half hour or so. It was near the pool. So it was in the same city. So I went there. So I had a few stops to make, and then I got home and, 4:00. I don't know if I've had dinner or not. I don't remember. I did have an omelet with chicken slices in it. So I guess that's my dinner, but I'm finding I'm not having enough to eat, and then I'm hungrier now, but we'll see. Maybe I'll have a tuna with the pita or something. Anyway, I think that's about it. So Jenna's in Germany. Daria's still in St. Pete. She had the day off. The daughter has spring break. I've never heard this, but is going into school to learn stuff. And I said, but isn't it spring break? Why isn't she relaxing? And the ironic part is we have spring break this week also in Michigan. So I thought that was really weird. What is it? Spring break everywhere on the same week? So anyway, I feel bad because I know school is getting really weird where they just keep you even on all the homework she's got and all the break. She doesn't have a chance to just rest and relax. And it's critical for the mind to like free think like what we do here. I free think. I just use my imagination and whatever comes, the guy in the locker room, the hot tub, the communist, the dollar, the Bitcoin casino. I was just free think. I was just thinking, and that's where I got it from. So anyway, I think that's about it. So have a good night. Greg and John, take care. Thanks for helping me that you could see me, even though I can't see me. So I'm going to try to figure that problem out. All right, everybody. God, it's 9:30 already. All right. Have a nice night, and I will see you tomorrow. After swim, I certainly don't need groceries, and I did the unemployment. And the reason I did the unemployment today is because I can get the money next Monday, right? So it starts April 1st will be when I can ask for my money, but I had to do this first. So I said, let's get it done. I didn't want to do it too late. So the fact I did it today is perfect. And so Monday when I do it, I'll get the money, I think Tuesday or Wednesday. So it'll be nice next month. It'll be unemployment, Social Security, unemployment, and waiting for the gold to go up. So anyway, have a good night. www.teaserking.com. I'm going to work on seeing myself in the studio. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a nice night.